Welcome back then, it's time for game number 2 in our very first best of 3 playoff match for split 1 of the LCO. And as far as things went in that game, Max, business as usual. You'd have to say, really, it was the case of the first seed in Bliss really getting to run right, do as they please, and basically say, if you want to go for this dragon and try and make that your win condition, that's great for us because it gives us a chance to actually fight you.
Yeah, they were the #1 team in the regular season, and it looks to be the exact same here in the playoffs. Not giving Ion a single opportunity to really come back. Every single thing that they got on the map was punished in some way. And Team Bliss looking to continue their winning ways here and close this out as a 2-0. But Ion, they hopefully won't go down as easily here, taking away the Orianna that was so painful for them to play against in that game 1.
Yeah, certainly. This is the argument you make, right, when a best of 3 comes into effect, where you start to ask, okay, how much of those adaptations can you look to make between a game 1 and 2? Certainly now, when you are staring down the barrel of a potential lower bracket position. That adaptation, as you already mentioned, they've removed that Smolder band, replaced it with the Orianna, but everything else remaining the same. So, for Bliss, what becomes their first pick priority with Varus being hovered? Certainly wouldn't put it past them.
Varus will be picked up here. It'll be interesting to see whether Nebula wants to go into the opposite side of the matchup and grab the center that we saw come out with Violet in the last game. And perhaps pair that with a Tahm Kench as well that they have the familiarity with. But instead, it's going to be this Aphelios, and Jovi's actually doubling down on this Azir. He's saying, okay, yes, that Orianna lane was something to forget, something to leave in the past. He still has confidence in his pick and will take it again for game 2.
He says, look, if the Orianna's banned away, now I can actually play this champion and I can run right and do my own thing in this laning matchup. But whilst we wanted to see him play the Akali, we certainly know that the Akali is not the worst matchup into it. Yes, you will get certainly bullied out in those initial levels, but once level 6 comes around, it becomes a whole different beast.
And Aphelios as well hates playing against Akali. It makes his life so difficult as this AD carry who really just wants these stable targets in front of him to be able to DPS through. So Hayri here going to have a nice matchup in the mid lane as well as being able to really impact these skirmishes when they get down towards these dragons. And, you know, if there's any takings from game 1 that I think that Team Bliss want to apply here in this game 2, it was that this continual aggression really was the thing that caught Ion off guard and really was the thing that put the nail in the coffin, because they were constantly engaging with multiple different members onto the carries of Ion, and locking in this Vi here just provides so much dive threat on top of the Akali that you've already picked up.
Certainly, much to your point, once again, right, this Aphelios is going to be panicking, no doubt about it. The fact that Akali's going to be flanking from one angle, there's that guaranteed lockdown with the Vi ultimate too, to make your life feel pretty poor as a result. We do know that Foreigner certainly is a bit of a poppy enjoyer, one of many in the Oceanic region, and certainly can look to try and find a fair bit of success in this game 2 with it. No doubt a lot of mobility to try and deny it. But I'm curious to see now what they've learned from game 1 in terms of the second half bans, because we're pretty critical of their support bans.
Yeah, they kind of didn't really do too much in terms of enabling them to have a good laning phase. They were still getting harassed down and poked in that 2v2 and losing turret plates as a result. So coming to this second phase of bans, they've taken away the Blitzcrank and Nautilus, which really makes me think that they are wanting to go towards an Enchanter. We've seen Milio be a very common pairing for the Aphelios because it just provides so much peel, so much range, and so much empowerment with those warm hugs, being able to really facilitate an aggressive playstyle coming out of this DPS champion. Now, the question to me is, are you actually going to pick that up? Are you actually wanting to opt into perhaps this really squishy bot lane? Yes, you do have the Poppy, but even with all the peel that Milio provides, there still is definitely the potential for Team Bliss to snowball this. They have picked the Hui before to punish those Enchanter matchups. So it'll be interesting to see what Hexflash actually wants to go to towards here. Now, it's going to be the Lulu, which is something we haven't seen too much of. Kind of has taken a backseat to those other Enchanters. And now this really opens up Scott's playstyle. He's shown these picks before, all about this lane dominance.
That it certainly is, and right you are on the money in terms of Lulu. Only 3 games played this entire split is definitely fall to the wayside, but the Milio is up and available, decided that they didn't want that with the Aphelios, and the Renata, certainly a champion that both AD carries would have loved to have paired alongside them, despite the way being phenomenal into it. He says, you know what, it can be any Enchanter, I simply do not care. And then the grand reveal is, well, once again, you've not banned this Cassante, so Bio says, if I have to, I guess I'll just win in this champion again.
He looks so bored. I don't think I've ever seen a top laner have less enjoyment on his face being up 1-0 in a series, and it will be that Cassante locked in. So basically Team Bliss is saying here, we don't really care about top lane. We are completely all in on this bot lane here. The Varus way, especially if it's a lethality Varus, can plain and simple just end the game through laning phase in terms of the poke and CS and gold lead that they're able to accrue in that 2v2. Now, the answer will be a Gwen here from Doraemon, so has a good matchup into the Cassante, as well as being able to scale quite nicely into the range DPS of Team Bliss, but really, it's going to come down to this bot lane. Can Ion survive what is known to be an incredibly potent combo here?
Because if they can survive, then yes, certainly there's a fair bit of damage across the board for the side of Iron there to try and bolster things up. But I think the biggest difference is that it's no longer going to be that laning Sejuani wanting to try and link up with either their mid laner or their jungler in that Viego. It's going to be a champion that can certainly get quite aggressive in that 1v1. We certainly saw, what was it, just a case of two top laners farming grasp stacks, and this is going to be the complete opposite. So they'll be hoping that Doraemon, once again, given that 5th pick priority, is going to reward them with a win.
Yeah, he's shown to be able to have these really impressive carry performances before, and I think that against the Akali, obviously it's not the nicest matchup in those side lanes later on, but if he's matched up against Biopanther, Gwen can actually get a decent amount of work done into that matchup just because of how well this champion scales and how well this champion is able to deal with tanks. Now, bot lane last game we saw, even in a matchup where they shouldn't have been winning, Violet and Scott were able to create advantages. So how are they going to do on this Varus Hui? They reserve this Hui pick basically exclusively to be picked into enchanters and to make sure they're never able to actually get to that late game phase where they're so potent. I wonder whether Nebula and Hexflash are prepared for this 2v2 duo, because coming in, you've come off a rough loss in game 1. It's obviously very hard with the limited amount of time that you have to really be able to shake off all those things, put it down to bad performance. But it looks like with smiles across the board, Team Ion are ready to give it a go, are ready to give it a crack here in Game 2.
Well, they certainly have to, because, you know, they've got a second chance, a second life, and that is the luxury of having a phenomenal split one, a rookie split one at that, with all these players looking to try and debut and showcase what they can do. Yes, Foreigner being the most experienced and the shot caller on the team, we'll be hoping that this pocket pick in the Poppy is enough to try and upset the balance of all this mobility that Team Bliss have put together. But it still is going to be the uphill battle, and as you've rightly mentioned, I think bot lane once again becomes that focus. We could talk about how dominant it was for Harry to try and shut down the Azir in game 1. Different matchup, different style. Don't expect to see those early warning shots you know, work out in the same way, but certainly bot. If we can see the likes of Varus and Hui take over, you are getting a little bit worried as an Ion fan as to just how strong Nebula can be.
That really is the question, though, for me. Can Jovi actually take advantage of this mid lane matchup early to help perhaps relieve pressure on that bot lane? You are going to have priority against the Akali early on, and can opt to use that TP down to perhaps save a dive, perhaps allow your bot lane time to get scaled into the game. Now, interestingly, it's going to be this grasp on Azir. This is something we've seen be very common in mid lane in recent games. Basically just provides a lot more safety in this lane, as well as the extra bit of tankiness that you might like against an Akali. So Jovi saying he doesn't want to fall victim to any more Hayri solo kills like he did last game.
Yeah, he said enough of that one. Wants to get all bulked up and ready to fight. Maybe taking a page out of the LCK, having watched Showmaker, and said, okay, well, if you can go tank, then maybe I can go tank as well. But that was a critical moment we mentioned in game 1. Not enough damage. That certainly was a different affair, given he was so far behind. Let's see if he can look to try and bully his lead into Harry, as he already gets aggressive from the level 1 mark, bridges that range gap, and gets right in his face and says, you need to go back to base already.
I mean, that is the worst possible start there for an Azir to have, losing basically all of your HP so much. Yes, you have the Grasp the Undying, but still, Hayri just has so much more inherent regen with his rune setup. That's really going to negate a significant amount of wave control that the Azir should have in the early game. You can see already, yes, Harry should be forced off these last couple of minions with the Azir's range. But even being able to hold the wave nice and equal here without using a single pot, Harry is definitely feeling good about this mid lane position here in the early game.
Yeah, it's brutal, isn't it? Right as you say, both pots having to be consumed. Jovi not wanting to burn that TP if you can afford to, but instantly you have to concede so much of the lane and really grant safe passage for Harry to work his magic, accelerate his growth to level 6, and really say that, hang on a minute, I'm supposed to be winning this one, but it's just not worked out that way.
And he has no pots here, whereas Hayri has just popped his now in terms, as well as all the additional regen he's going to be getting from the Fleet Footwork and Resolve tree that he has. So Jovi will be forced to base and TP here, not where you'd like to be at all. You imagine his base is literally just going to be this refillable potion as he heads back towards lane. And I mean, Team Bliss, they've got control of the bot lane, they've got control of the mid lane when they shouldn't have. It really feels like this lane kingdom is going to be present regardless of the matchups that they have picked themselves into.
Yeah, it's a rough one, and we already said it was going to be a tough game for them, given the lane setups were there to try and bully you out. And you can see that Violet opting to go for the Halo Blades. We've certainly seen many variations of what a Lethality Varus could look like, the most recent one being a double Comet, where you just have infinite poke, but just valuing that trading potential when they get a chance as well.
Yeah, we'll make him nicer in skirmishes as well, right? If there is any potential 3v3 to come online, just provides a little bit more burst, given you're able to stack up those Blight and then detonate them on a target here. But Jovi in the mid lane, even if they aren't able to get the kill, forcing out the flash and the trade when he has no flash or no TP is really huge here. Foreigner though might be looking at why not.
And that might be what he does. He might just simply stare at him, chuck out a passive and say, there you go. And I think, Max, this probably is really as rough as you can go for your mid laner, one of your star players, to lose double summoners only 3.5 minutes in.
And now this is looking like it might be a little bit of a skirmish over this crab as well. They're looking onto Jovi, but keep in mind he does have no flash. 2v2.
Yeah, the focus is on that Azir. Make sure they can take him down as quickly as they can. The Shuriken Strike is connected, and Harry is biding his time, needing that magic, or rather needing that energy to get the guaranteed kill. It's the Arcane Comet. Would you believe it? That comes across there for Scott as he burns double summoners in a phenomenal rotation. That means that they will trade 1-for-1.
Somehow Jovi doesn't actually go down there for first blood. It looked very precarious for the Azir, who was caught in between two members of Team Bliss. But it's a nice roam up from both supports here to secure those kills on the back end. Hexflash getting there just in time to buy enough space and healing for Jovi to actually get out from the initial altercation. As we take a look once again here, you can see the Scuttle Crab really is the focus, but why not tries to turn it onto Jovi, who he sees is quite vulnerable here. But look at Hex Flash buying so much time. Crucially, the E lands onto Foreigner as well from Akali, not landing onto the Azir to deny that initial kill. And it's Scott here on this wave who is able to pick up that kill onto Azir on the back end. So both supports making their impact found early on in the game. Gold is dead even here as we crest the 5-minute mark.
And it certainly is. Let's see, though, if that's enough for Iron to feel inspired that they can look to try and answer back in this early game, because as far as things go for Wino, it is simple as just say, pick up these Void Grubs, play the lane better, outmaneuver them, and just pick up 3 plates and 3 towers as a result. That certainly was their success in game 1, opting to ignore team fights on multiple occasions and just take down all the outers instead.
His Foreigner's potentially looking to contest here. Doesn't have the smite just yet, though, and Panther will be in the area. So just like last game, 3 Void Grubs going over, and that really hurts Skimmy. I mean, you have counterpick once again. I mean, not in the mid lane this time, but the Azir should be winning that matchup early on. And even though you had that counterpick in the top lane, you're still not able to get that top lane priority. So Foreigner will once again be forced to watch as he loses those first 3 objectives. On the bottom side of the map, things aren't much better. 14 now the CS lead for Violet. He's having a fantastic time in this laning phase, just dishing out the poke now with the Serrated Dirt completed. As Harry, you can see how aggressive he is here. Ticking that level 6 mark, especially with no flash on the Azir, means he feels very confident. Just zoning him off all of this wave here, Skimmy.
Yeah, just really biding his time, waiting for the moment to strike to hit that perfect execution. So much so is Foreigner hanging out in that top bush and says, you know what, enough is enough. Let's just guarantee the push. Let's get a little bit of trade back and making sure that you can go back to base and not get solo killed again. I mean, yes, you can make the argument that this tanky Azir is going to work well into all these bruises and all this in-your-face damage, but you just need so much time, so many resources for that to come on through. And I don't think time's going to be afforded to them, because what lane, if you're the Poppy, do you feel hopeful about?
That's a really awkward part about playing Poppy when you're behind as well, is really there's not very good setup in any of your lanes here. Gwen, pure damage, right? Yes, you have a slow on your ult, but really is that going to do much against the Ghost coming out from the Cassante? The answer's no here, is Team Bliss with firm control of this bot lane after having shot that in repeatedly to the enemy turret. They're going to look to set up their vision here. This is something that this team is so good at, and we saw it last game. Whenever they're making a play towards a particular quadrant, they make sure they use their control wards incredibly effectively to block out entrances and not provide any avenue for access here, but why not? Might get chased down here. Gravitum's out.
Moonlight Vigil locking the 2 in place. Big slow, a lot of damage as a result. The flash, the stun into the wall, and the guaranteed kill onto Why Not. And this is the aggression you want to see. And just like that, Jovi gets a double kill and completely undoes that atrocious early game.
Absolutely huge here. Getting these 2 kills onto the Azir means absolutely everything as well. You're denying that Dragon window that Team Bliss were looking for as a result of their bot push. So, I mean, yeah, you mentioned it. It was a horrible start here for Jovi. He still is down a fair chunk of CS, but those 2 kills will do a lot of effort to swing the gold lead. In fact, actually in the favor of Team Ion now.
That's certainly what they needed, and hopefully this gives them safe passage to then continue to play aggressively. Otherwise, it's just a little bit too easy for Wynot to do as he pleases. And once again, it's continuing that trend. But this time, Ion are quick to capitalize and quick to punish. I say his name, we say, you know what, let's forget him getting killed. Let's actually watch him making a play. Harry jumps across the wall, but the perfect execution has to be used to run away.
2 ultimates there from Team Bliss, the mid jungle, who you do want to be using those in conjunction to lock down someone. Simply don't find the value there. Hexflash has been playing really well this game to get towards mid lane when he needs to. And Jovi will simply shuffle out of there and maintain his stay in the lane. So really nice reactive play here from Ion as top lane skirmishing continues.
So lane is getting aggressive right now, as you say, it is the snip being used to make sure that Bio is forced to go all out. And slowly but surely, Ion are starting to ease their way into this game. It's not as easy as we imagine it to be. But 9 minutes on, and you're starting to see a little bit of signs of life.
They're fighting back, especially in the solo lanes here, but one thing that remains constant is the bot lane pressure that Team Bliss are able to put out. You can see 27 is now the CS lead as Foreigner. Just show his head in the mid lane and get a little bit of a chunk onto Hayri. But you can see 2 plays having already fallen, the 3rd one soon to follow as well. And it's just brutal. Anytime this Aphelios walks up, he's taking poke from both of these champions. And really, Foreigner's having to walk around the map and put out fires.
He really is at this stage. You can imagine the comms be a case of help, 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 I need it more than you right now. And Foreigner can use their Hex Flash across the water, try and get themselves into a ganking position. But too quick, too nimble, too annoying is the bot lane of Bliss. That their presence alone is enough to zone them away. And they feel inspired, and they certainly should do, knowing that their jungler is not too far away as well.
And this is what I mean. What does a Poppy actually do when she walks into lane, right? She's so much better at responding to ganks than she is to actually setting them up, especially without the proper CC there to enable her to get onto the enemy targets. And, you know, this perpetual bot push really means that Wynot, anytime he's freed up, can look towards this dragon. He won't start it now. Instead, just trying to hover here, potentially looking for a dive, but the level 6 ticking through for Lulu is potentially dissuading them here. Once again, Scuttlecrab is the focus, but Nebula, he's killed under his own turret.
Yeah, I mean, look at his HP, and then look at the tower as well. Only a single plate remains. And I tell you what, it almost feels like we're playing a Lux Caitlyn matchup where you're just bullied out of oblivion, and you're picking up a free turret as a result. Out goes the Moonlight Vigil, used to try and get some life back. And then they say, you know what, I've revealed the Hui ult, and I'll guarantee the kill as Wynot flashes to punch him to the head. Flashing away his Hex Flash with the wild growth available. He's just chosen not to use it. He had no mana.
Yeah, he's got no mana here. Wynot's going to fall down in exchange, going over to Foreigner. As Jovi shows up and loses basically all of his health bar. You could see it was a really nice chain CC combo from the side of Bliss. They land basically every single Hui spell onto Nebula, which chunks him incredibly low. And also buys time for Wynot to come through on that play. So, I mean, yes, he gets traded back off the end. You can see 40 CS is now the lead. The difference between AD carries 30 in the mid lane. And Foreigner, the lone kind of pillar of light here for Ion. But it's a Poppy skimmy. It's not who you want to be having these kills.
No, certainly not enough to feel like you've got that carry threat. Nowhere near as it was certainly in game 1 on that Viego. You can see the initial play is good from Nebula to try and get some life back, but Hex Flash having his work cut out for him, choosing to expend the mana and then not have enough for that wild growth.
So it's a really nice Vi ultimate there to lock Nebula down to enable that piercing arrow to come through from Varus. That really seals the deal in terms of damage. Now, unfortunately, it does mean that Wynot will go down as a result. But when you're trading gold onto your carries, you really are feeling good about that. And straight out of the replay, he's back up to these grubs. Every single time these are available, he takes them nice and early. And with the Team Bliss bot lane in the middle, hold on.
Yeah, just really warning shots at this stage, you'd have to say there, Max. Not enough to really threaten Vi, who can literally once again just walk out, pop the heal, and preserve that flash, that all-important flash. And the curse of an AD carry dying on mid lane does not come true today.
Foreigner was really close to that play, but unfortunately I think he was caught up doing the Raptor camp, so was unable to come over that wall and provide the extra damage that they would have needed to kill Violet. To his credit, he did come close there, and it will certainly nullify a decent amount of pressure in terms of being able to push down that mid lane turret here. But for the time being, you can see Team Bliss firm control over basically every single wave. They will look to flip their bot lane back potentially here. The more time you can spend with this Varus and Hui against the Aphelios Lulu, the better you're feeling, right? You can see that the lane is basically unplayable for them at this stage. So why not keep them in that matchup for as long as possible? But you can see an interesting adaptation here from Team Iron. They've actually bringing down 4 members around this bot side, sweeping this out and securing the vision, potentially trying to recognize that there will be a vulnerable member as this turret falls low. But what can you do against Varus? Opportunity completed. 136 CS here for Violet. And crucially, he kept his flash from that mid lane play. Here we go. A lot of members down the bot lane.
There are certainly looking to try and get aggressive here as both junglers butt heads and look to try and zone out in that tri-brush leading into the river. But the pressure is always there as Violet lands those Chain of Corruptions and gets a nice wild growth on his head, but it just feels like you traded ultimates for a tower that was always going to fall on down.
This turret's so close to breaking, and Jovi's actually going to lose his health bar as he's trying to stand still there under his own turret. It's a 3v3, but why not? With the Sundered Sky now feeling pretty good about his position here. Keep in mind, the cooldown of the Azir ultimate is almost finished. It's almost online here, so if there's a potential for a shuffle, it's got to come right now, or else he's going to fall down.
At this level of HP, surely it's just too much of a risk to try and make at this point. I mean, he's being zoned and bullied and told to go back to base time and time again throughout this entire series, and it's just so easy for Bliss to do things like this. If it's not your Aphelios, it's your Azir instead.
There's a flash on that Azir. There's also a heal on the Lulu as well as all of her spells. Why not looking on Nebula?
Why not? He's looking at Nebula right now as he takes a lot of damage just at a turret range, and Nebula sneaks away a freebie.
Oh no.
Harry missing the 3-point strikes as he tied the tower. He barely scrapes away. And a bit of a weird situation there, but still Bliss prevail.
Dangerously close to being a double kill there for the Aphelios as he's kiting around the turret very well with that Gravitum. Crucially, Harry will be able to make the distance on the turret and get out of range, but why not just goes really deep there on that play, tanking turrets throughout the entire channel of his ult, which means that once he actually arrives, he's incredibly low. And Nebula is just able to finish that kill. So yes, he goes down, but you're trading back, and any gold you get onto the Aphelios at this stage in the game is good gold.
But it's just so brutal, isn't it, Max? I mean, you already talk about the lethality strength. Hang on for 2 seconds here. It's a deep TP coming in here from Jovi, but already the fight looks like it's gone. As he tried to work an angle, as you mentioned, with that Empress Divide. But my point being, you've got all this harass and this poke from so far away that it makes it so easy to bully them out the lane and then say, well, we've got 6 stacks of these Void Grubs. That tower ceases to exist. I mean, Jovi's just TP'd back and be told to go back again.
And they don't get the kill here, Skimmy, but crucially, they managed to chunk him out in a huge way, right? This means that this Azir, who usually you'd feel so comfortable just leaving alone on mid waves to clear the spot, is not going to be able to do that anywhere near as comfortably as Harry has found Nebula.
Certainly has found Nebula. The worst case scenario here for a Aphelios, says Jovi. Blindly hits the Emperor's Divide, blocks off his retreat, but as that goes away, so does his chance to find the kill.
Way.
And he survives on 25 HP. Hexflash does just that. And another tower falls as well.
Oh, that is criminal that Harry manages to live there. 3 levels up he is on this Azir. And really putting this Akali pick to good use. Not even the jungle is safe for Ion at this stage. You can see Nebula just walking around, gets comboed by this Akali. And even with the Azir there, it is not enough to save him. It's a really nice play here, using the Shroud to nullify the CC coming through. And once that Shuriken flip lands, it really is the death sentence. Yes, you have Hexflash here on the Lulu, but where is this Azir's damage? Harry just manages to get out as the kill is traded back. And it is from bad to worse here for the side of Ion.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a tanky build, right? We mentioned it. It was the Azir going for the grass, much like Showmaker in the LCK. You get the Leandries, you work your way towards that frozen heart, and you feel like you can stand and really battle with all these bruises. But it's just not enough, and to limp away in 25 HP and to deny that bounty going across into your opponent's hand does feel like a major crime at this point. Says, why not? Who's going to work their way towards that second dragon, only 17 minutes in. Definitely a game where dragons are not that valid, and I feel like I'd have definitely learned from their mistakes here that if we entertain the Dragon, Bliss will just fight us.
They definitely don't want to opt into any kind of extended fight, especially with how much room there is in the bot side jungle. Thanks to those tier 1 turrets being down, already taken from the side of Bliss. Now, to go back to your point about the Azir build, I think it is, first of all, an interesting adaptation with the grass, but I think as well, going into the Frozen Heart second here is really questionable to me because you're playing against an Akali. This 1v1 side lane matchup is really who you're going to be playing against, and this pure armor item really isn't going to be providing much at all into being able to nullify this damage. So yes, he is tanky, but you can see he's down 50 CS, has to cede wave control at every time, and that opens opportunities like Team Bliss. They just walk into the mid lane and break that turret.
But it's just too easy, Max. It is just far too easy in both games. So why not to get all 6 stacks of the Void Grubs uncontested, to get the Void Herald, and then make this play happen again, where you summon the entire Void army. A legion of minions then spawn and descend upon the map and say that tower is gone in the blink of an eye. 4 turrets to nothing. It's a monumental gap as it becomes 5 now, as Foreigner jumps in, tries to take down the support of Bliss. But even that, he cannot find.
But where is the response? Where is the actual damage coming out from Ion here as they're turning the play around? There is a deep TP.
There's the Spiraling Despair to lock the vision onto Foreigner, try and get this Poppy down as Harry looks to try and disengage away, bait their attention. There is the Wild Growth and Nebula said he looks to try and fight him inside that Shroud. It's the Moonlight Vigil, blindly chucked at the fight, the shutdown. Is that enough to try and turn this fight? Doraemon up against 3 as he gets sniped out there by Vilepet for peeling away from both his jungle and support as Wyler jumps back in with that Thunder Sky proc, taking down Nebula. It's a bit of a bloodbath, a bit of a messy affair, but overall I think Bliss are still content with the map state.
Yeah, really bloody there. Finally, Ion pulled the trigger and used the TP from Doraemon to get into the backline of the fight, and while all that chaos is being caused, it's Nebula really who is the benefactor here. As we take a look once again, the initial chunk is really big onto Foreigner, who quickly pulls the trigger, snap onto Hayri. They try to take him down, but aren't able to until Nebula actually finds him here with that Moonlight Vigil. And then on the backline, Doraemon just buying space and time, really. Nebula just 1v1s Violet in that matchup where he was down so far. And I mean, yes, he falls down, but it's 2 big kills over to your Aphelios, 2 big kills back in your favor after what had been such a ruthless early game. And they will equalize the kill score. Yes, they're down 4,000 gold, but with the scaling comp, you're not feeling too bad about this one.
There certainly is a world and their way, but it's a case of making sure that you can maintain these side lanes here. Another fragile tower. This will be tower number 6 to be unanswered by Ion. As the pinch collides, the tower falls, and they descend upon this Gwen. Inside the immunity circle, they turn their attention instead on towards the Poppy, who can no longer survive. Receives the Wild Growth, the Redemption too. All these major ultimates and cooldowns burnt to try and protect him, with the Baron waiting to be looked at.
Foreigner lucky there to get out. The Keeper's Verdict missing means he was in a vulnerable position as Jovi just forcing the flash out of Scott there with that aggressive shuffle, but Foreigner
looking to try and nimble his way out of this one, and thankfully for them, it's a case of Bliss saying it's too much for us to take. Bio not interested, has no TP, cannot force that true 5v5, and it's just going to attend to those lanes and once again look to outmaneuver them and showcase their prowess in dictating when Iron can and will fight.
Speaking of fighting, Harry's on Doraemon.
Certainly is looking for that 1v1. Doraemon though is certainly not going to be 1-2v2 weak, but certainly is when it becomes an unfair fight, 1v2. Then that perfect KDA will get dismantled.
First death there for Gwen. You can see how hard it is, even in the 1v1 against the Kali, to actually maneuver as this Gwen. This champion really wants to be able to consistently hit and DPS the target like a Cassante, but with all the mobility, all the kind of invulnerability as well coming out from an Akali W, it becomes a very hard matchup in the side lanes. And like you mentioned as well, why not there to seal the deal? But now, how are these side lanes going to function for the side of Ion? Because on the one hand, you've got this tanky Azir, who feels pretty safe, but his lack of magic resist is really going to hurt him. If you put him up against an Akali in these long lanes, he will just get ran down. So the question becomes, how are we enabling Hayri to actually extend his advantage? We know how aggressive he is in looking on both picks in the enemy jungle as well as on the solo lanes. As once again, he's set up in a bush here. However, he will be forced off and spotted here by Hexflash. Moving around the jungle nicely here. This mid-sub jungle duo of Yordles to make sure they're able to get this defensive vision down. As they'll spot Harry out just there.
It's just so hard, though, to layer that vision down and guarantee that it's going to stick, right? Because you just have relinquished full control of the map. 6 towers gone. And this top side, as well as the bottom half, just do no longer belong to you. That vision line has to retreat and recede to such a weird spot that you can make plays like this and try and use those portals out to safety. It's a bit of a wish. And it is a successful one as the heist is complete there from Fominus saying, we'll stag away at least something.
And the TP will be used here, but Doraemon just put in harm's way here.
And he's going to get surrounded by multiple members, and yes, once again receives that all-important Lulu. A flash maneuver there from the side of Poppy. And they will shut down Harry. So finally the Akali falls on down. They'll answer back with their first tower. And it's glimpses, rare glimpses, where Iron show what they're capable of.
That's a big decisive maneuver there from Ion. They use the TP from Gwen on Doraemon here to be able to push that top wave in because they know Why Not is on Dragon, and Team Bliss kind of biting off a little bit more than they can chew there. They send members up to contest the blue and contest that turret, and that ultimately results in Hayri going down. Yes, you get the Poppy Flash, but who really cares at this stage? So a nice little play there from Ion, cutting their losses nice and early, acknowledging that there's more to the game than these dragon stacking. And really only the second one for Bliss, so that Soul is a long ways away. The longer this game goes on, the better you're feeling. You have to imagine. You can see now 2 items completed for Nebula. Infinity Edge ticking over means he does some serious damage if he's allowed to have uptime in fights. 2 items for Gwen and Azir as well. So both these champions are having the greatest early game start, but they're certainly scaling to a scary point here as the game goes on.
And they certainly are. It is that double Frozen Heart set up, though, between the mid and the jungle. And it begs the question, who's going to find the most value with it? Because certainly you've got to shut down this Vi from really being that much of a damage threat. But how easy will it be to get towards the back line and make sure it finds value onto Violet? Opting for this Lethality Varus already on 3 items with the Boots of Swiftness too. So incredibly hard to not only get near him, but then to not fall victim to a death in the process.
Yeah, getting near him is really going to be the tricky part, especially with the vision line that Team Bliss have established. This time it will be the Baron. It's really in their sights. I mean, with the Lethality Varus, they don't have the easiest time of one-shotting it, but this mid lane, once again, they're fighting.
It's on. Forward is the focus right now. Doraemon just waiting at a vision right now and realizing, look, our jungler is gone, surrounded by the entire team of Bliss. I don't want to entertain that. I want to flank from the side, and this is not a fight that we will just take. Ghost actually going to be used by Nebula here, but not enough for them to actually answer back with any kind of real meaningful damage. Scott is not in the back in the mid lane. The Baron is being started. You mentioned the damage concerns. Let's see what Iron can do.
Do you just give the Baron here? I'm not sure what Ion are doing. They're looking like they want to actually contest here. But here goes Bio.
Bio jumping back in, has the all-out mode, waiting for the train to find that all-out to try and snipe them away. But Doraemon stuck between a rock and a hard place there. Indecision really costing him there as Jovi goes in for that Streamer Shuffle, hunting for that Emperor's Divides. But the slippery nature of Bliss, I mean, they all burn flashes and they all get away.
That's big though, they stopped the Baron, and that's really the crucial part of that whole exchange. You can see that as the fight went on, the extended DPS of this Aphelios really started to take over with that Lulu empowering him. And yes, you lose Doraemon, as I might have to hold my thought here. There's another TP in, Biopanther's still here, and he still has the all-out.
He still does have the all-out. He's looking to find the moment on towards Nebula right now, who's trying to dodge out on this terrain. The shove goes back, making sure that that flanking TP finds little to no success. But they wrangle control of this mid lane again, and they just run it back to Baron.
They know that Ion wants a reset here. They know that they want to be able to get back to base, but they're not going to give them the opportunity. Instead, opting to just DPS this Baron straight away. Now, keep in mind, there are 5 members of Ion all alive here, all heading towards this Baron. Doraemon takes the Hexgate. They might just collapse on him, Skimmy.
Yeah, it's a bit of a risk. You've revealed your position. Doraemon's surrounded by everybody right now. Gets put into a fear, gets knocked up. The immunity circle dissipates. And he's going to look to try and life leech up an absolute stall from that snip. But it needs nothing. When have I hunt you down with that point and click ultimate? Yet again, another 4v5 where Iron had to try and dissuade Bliss from going for the Baron.
But every single ultimate here from the side of Team Bliss has been used besides that all-out. So yes, this Baron is a very scary prospect here. Hexflash, get a face check.
Uh-oh. That's not what you want. And they certainly do need to rely upon that wild growth. It's bailed them out of so many situations. But the Lulu even easier now for players like Harry to strike upon this one. Foreigner, can he make a miracle happen? He tried to flash over and steal the Baron. But Bio waiting to try and shut him down too. Phones him back with the all out, but Foreigner just gets the leg it away.
In a league full of Baron steals, we won't see one come through this time. Foreigner unable to get the smite down. As we take a look once again, Hexflash here on this Lulu knows he has to walk up, but just walks into an Akali in a way not who you want to be face checking. And this Lulu falling down means it's incredibly hard for the Aphelios to walk up. There's just so much engage coming through. And despite a nice flash into the pit there, Foreigner is just going to get outsmited. So the Baron going over to Team Bliss here, who they had sold out a little bit there, but you can see now with this Baron in hand, firm control of the bottom mid waves, they're looking to put the bow on this series.
Yeah, certainly looking for that final nail on the coffin, as you say. It's tough though, it really is tough. They tried to deny them the Baron on multiple occasions, but just a little bit difficult for them to step up to the play and overforce their hands to make sure that Bliss would be deterred from that one. They've got the poke, they've got the harass, and they've got the flash. Fantastic Poppy Hammer, but it's just a little bit too late. The damage is there, the kill's already been found, and Nebula, without a pocket Lulu, ceases to exist.
Violet is all smiles there after flashing for to take down his brother, and Nebula going to expend his own on the mid lane, but still falls down here. Team Bliss, they're unrelenting. They're
hunting for the end yet again as they look to go all out onto Foreigner, surrounded by 4. He pops like you would not believe it. That's a supporting wave, but still packing a massive punch here as Bliss, the favorite, look to try and survive. It's a phenomenal Emperor's Divide, but it just tickles them at this point here, Max. He's a tank, more so than a DPS, and it will be that ace. They got it done the first seed in 25 minutes game 1. They'll get it done in just under 30 in game 2. It's a clean sweep 2-0 as they progress to that best of 5 and get one step closer to the PCS playoffs.
It took them a couple minutes longer here in game 2, but the outcome is exactly the same. Team Bliss, the upper bracket is theirs, the battle of the brothers is theirs, and really this team are looking unstoppable as they take the first series of the playoffs 2-0.
It was always going to be a rough affair for them. The community ourselves aligned in that it was going to be very much Bliss favored, and they didn't disappoint on that promise. There were moments for Ion, but moments certainly not enough to try and upset the favorites. They will get their second chance in the lower brackets, but that does it as they get 2-0 for